Adelia Rose Williams, a 15-year-old Austinite who shared what life was like living with a very rare condition. A lot of positivity to millions on social media.
Skins peeling off like a banana. Children aging like they're 8'5". The horrid human existence is a constant struggle between health and illness. But these strange and bizarre diseases defy cures and remedies. Dive deep into the dark and heart-rending world of patients who suffer from diseases straight out of a nightmare and rare conditions that plagues 1 in a million people. These are 14 of the most bizarre medical conditions ever recorded. Number 14. The woman burning from the inside. Meet Kayla Hansen, a 29-year-old from Arizona, bravely battling a debilitating condition known as complex regional pain syndrome (CRPS), which has been labeled a suicide disease. This rare, poorly understood disorder has left Kayla's body in a constant state of excruciating agony, as if she has been set on fire. If you meet her on the road, you won't help but wonder how she survives in such a terrible condition. But what brought about this condition? Kayla's ordeal began after a workplace accident in 2015, where she crushed her hands trying to pass through 2 doors. But a year later, the burning sensation started, and Kayla found herself facing a life-altering diagnosis. Doctors informed her that she had the worst case of CRPS they had ever seen, with the condition quickly spreading from her right arm and hand to engulf her entire body. In Kayla's own words, CRPS is a condition where your nervous system attacks your entire body. It is rated the highest pain disease in the world. CRPS outranks any amputations, natural childbirth, any broken bones, and is said to be more painful than cancer. The once vibrant and independent young woman is now confined to her bed for days at a time, unable to perform even the most basic tasks. Stress, water, and heat are her main triggers, causing her skin to burn and blister, as if she has been doused in gasoline and set alight. Kayla's days are now a constant battle against the excruciating agony that courses through her body, with her pain levels often reaching a 10 out of 10, even with the help of medications. She has tried numerous treatments, from nerve blocks to ketamine infusions, but none have been successful in alleviating her suffering. As Kayla grapples with the reality of living with this unbearable condition, she laments the loss of her independence and the life she once knew. Despite the overwhelming challenges, Kayla remains hopeful for a future cure, even as she accepts that CRPS may be a lifelong companion. Number 13. Adelia with Hutchison-Gilford progeria syndrome. Next up here is poor Adelia. She's just lived for 15 years, but she went through so much. Adelia had this rare genetic disorder called Hutchison-Gilford progeria syndrome, or HGPS for short. It's an uncommon condition that makes children age much faster than normal. When Adelia was just a baby, her parents noticed something wasn't right. She wasn't growing like other kids, and her skin was starting to harden. It must have been heartbreaking for them when the doctors told them their little girl had HGPS, a condition that affects only about 1 in 4 million people. Despite her small stature, thinning hair, and the wisdom beyond her years in her eyes, Adelia still has a lively spirit and a joyful laugh. She was a popular teen YouTuber, but you can tell she's been fighting a tough battle since she was born. Her friends, like her best friend Lucy, have been so important in helping Adelia. They've had so many fun sleepovers and laughs together, but also times when they've cried about how unfair life can be. It's amazing that even in the middle of her own struggles, Adelia has often been the one to lift the spirits of those around her. The treatments for HGPS are limited. Doctors can really only try to manage the symptoms, not cure the condition. Adelia has to go for regular heart checkups and do physiotherapy to keep her mobility. It must be so hard for her, but she chooses to see her life positively. In her own words, Adelia made a very touching remark about her life. She said that she has been given a chance to experience life uniquely. That was so touching. What an inspiring attitude, especially for someone facing so many challenges. But on January 12, 2022, at the tender age of 15, Adelia's family shared the devastating news that she had been set free from this world. In a heartbreaking post on both her Instagram and Facebook accounts, her loved ones wrote, "She came into it quietly and left quietly, but her life was far from it. She touched millions of people and left the biggest imprint in everyone that knew her." Adelia's story reminds us that even in the face of the harshest realities, we can find joy and embrace every moment. Number 12. Sophia living with perineoplastic pemphigus. This young woman, once vibrant and full of life, now finds herself trapped in a nightmare of pain and suffering. It all started so innocently, a sore throat, some harmless-looking mouth sores. How could she have known the horrors that lay in wait? As the weeks went by, Sophie's skin began to betray her, peeling like the outer layers of tubers. Blisters and lesions erupted across her body, leaving her tender and aching with every movement. Even the simplest of tasks, like eating, became a torturous ordeal as the sores in her throat and mouth made it agonizing. The diagnosis, when it finally came, offered little solace. She had perineoplastic pemphigus. Perineoplastic pemphigus is a rare and devastating autoimmune condition linked to underlying cancers. The news was a gut punch, a cruel twist of fate that left Sophie reeling. Now she finds herself caught in a vicious cycle of treatments, aggressive therapies to combat the cancer, while also trying to manage the relentless onslaught of her skin condition. The medications, the side effects, the constant ups and downs. It's all too much for one person to bear. But through it all, Sophie clings to the small joys in life, finding refuge in the pages of books, escaping to worlds where her pain and suffering do not exist. And in the darkest moments, she finds the strength to document her journey, to reach out to others facing similar battles. Her blog, a testament to her resilience, has become a beacon of hope for the rare disease community. But at what cost? The toll this fight has taken on Sophie is heartbreaking to witness. As we follow her story, we can't help but feel a deep sense of sorrow and empathy. This is not the life anyone should have to endure, this unending struggle against a cruel and unforgiving affliction. But in Sophie's eyes, we see a glimmer of determination, a refusal to surrender to the darkness. We just hope her story inspires us all to cherish the precious moments of health and happiness, for we never know when the cruel hand of fate may strike. And may Sophie find the strength to carry on, to persevere in the face of such overwhelming adversity. Number 11. James with hyper-IgM syndrome. From a very young age, this sweet boy faced a terrible battle. He always had a bright, happy face and such a fun, friendly spirit. But behind that joyful smile, he was suffering from a serious illness that weakened his immune system. James had a condition called hyper-IgM syndrome. This rare genetic disorder meant his body couldn't make enough of the special antibodies needed to fight off infections. So poor James was constantly getting sick, colds that lasted for weeks, and even minor injuries that took forever to heal. While other children were worrying about homework or playing sports, James spent so much time in the hospital. He had to undergo all kinds of treatments and preventative measures to try to stay healthy. It must have been so scary and lonely for a young boy to be in those cold, sterile hospital rooms all the time. But even in that difficult situation, James never lost his bright spirit. The hospital staff were always amazed by his ability to make jokes and put on little performances to cheer up the other sick kids. James's loving parents and little sister were his biggest supporters, always making him feel normal and included, no matter what. And the doctors worked hard to help him, giving him regular infusions of the antibodies his body couldn't make on its own. As James grew older, he decided to use his experiences to raise awareness about hyper-IgM syndrome. He wanted to share his story so that other families facing similar challenges would know they weren't alone and have hope. Though James's life was filled with medical struggles, it was also overflowing with love, support, and sheer determination. While this rare disease may have defined part of his journey, it could never define the totality of his beautiful, resilient spirit. Number 10. Aisha and the Ondine's curse. Aisha was born with a rare and devastating condition known as Ondine's curse, or congenital central hypoventilation syndrome, CCHS. This cruel twist of fate meant that Aisha would simply forget to breathe while she slept, a terrifying reality that haunted her and her family from the moment she opened her eyes. As an infant, Aisha's radiant gaze and heartwarming smile could not mask the underlying struggle that confounded even the most experienced medical professionals. Every time she drifted off to sleep, her breathing would become alarmingly shallow or cease altogether, sending the once peaceful night into a frantic life-or-death scenario. The nights in Aisha's home were a stark contrast to the world outside. While others surrendered to the blissful embrace of dreams, Aisha's room was a battlefield, alive with the relentless hum of medical equipment, ventilators and monitors that became her constant companions, ensuring her fragile life continued through the long, dark hours. Her parents, their hearts heavy with the weight of this burden, took turns keeping a vigilant watch, their eyes trained on the machines that sustained their beloved daughter. The fear of a single malfunction, the possibility of losing Aisha forever, hung in the air like a phantom, ever present and unforgiving. Yet, when the first rays of dawn crept through the curtains, a transformation took place. Aisha, the spirited and determined young woman, emerged, her eyes shining with a life that defied the seemingly insurmountable challenges she faced. She excelled academically, showcased her musical talent on the piano, and poured her soul into the vibrant murals she created. Aisha's sense of humor became a beacon of light, as she joked about being the only one among her peers who truly had a resting face. Her friends and family rallied around her, embracing her light-hearted approach and ensuring that while they respected the gravity of her condition, they did not allow it to cast a somber shadow over their moments together. As Aisha grew into adulthood, medical advancements offered a glimmer of hope. She explored the option of diaphragm pacing, a procedure that reduced her dependency on ventilators, granting her a newfound sense of freedom, especially during the long, lonely nights. Number 9. Celine Dion and Lahoma. Our popular Canadian singer Celine Dion has an affliction we never knew about. This once vibrant, talented singer has been struck down by a cruel, rare disease known as stiff person syndrome. Celine's body was once so graceful and strong, but now it's betraying her. Sudden, weakening muscle spasms leave her helpless, unable to perform for the adoring crowds who long to hear her soaring vocals. And Celine is not alone in her suffering. Lahoma Nakhtrab, a woman in her prime of mid-40s, is also fighting this relentless illness. What started as her legs occasionally giving out during exercise quickly spiraled into a daily battle with a devastating, mysterious condition. As the symptoms progressed, Lahoma found herself barely able to get through the day. Sudden, uncontrollable muscle spasms would rack her body, sometimes leaving her on the floor for hours. The simplest movements of reaching her arms, even being startled, could trigger these agonizing episodes. Doctors dismissed her symptoms, saying it was all in her head. But finally, a glimmer of hope has appeared with a special diagnosis of stiff person syndrome. Now Lahoma must navigate this cruel disease, searching for relief, for any semblance of her former self. And Celine, our beloved songstress, faces the same uphill battle. How heartbreaking to see her fighting back tears, her voice trembling as she shares her story. This is a tragedy, plain and simple, but in their vulnerability, Celine and Lahoma offer us a shine of hope. If they can find the strength to carry on, perhaps there is hope for us all. We can only pray for their healing and stand in awe of their courage. Number 8. Epidermolysis bullosa. Born with the recessive dystrophic type of epidermolysis bullosa EB, a devastating skin condition often referred to as butterfly skin, Shivanya has endured a lifetime of constant pain and suffering. From a young age, Shivanya faced a complete lack of understanding about her condition within her tight-knit Indian community in post-apartheid South Africa. People made cruel assumptions that her EB must have been the result of some wrongdoing on her part, completely dismissing the medical realities of this debilitating disease. Even the doctors told Shivanya's family that she would only live for about 6 more months. Yet, she defied those dire predictions, drawing strength from an indomitable spirit and a fierce determination to live life to the fullest. The simplest tasks, like rewrapping her bandages, became immense ordeals for Shivanya and her family. Her skin is so fragile that the slightest friction can cause it to tear and blister, leaving wounds akin to severe burns. The pain she endures is unimaginable, yet she never complains. Shivanya's childhood was a constant battle, with one nurse even telling her, at just 7 years old, that she would never be able to have a normal life or get married and have children. But Shivanya refused to accept those limitations, going on to prove the naysayers wrong time and again. Her husband marvels at her incredible resilience, saying that her ability to achieve what was deemed impossible boils his confidence. Indeed, Shivania's story is a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome the most daunting challenges. Despite the immense pain and difficulties she faces daily, Shivania embraces the joys of life, like becoming a mother, an accomplishment her doctors had deemed impossible. Her unwavering determination and courage in the face of such adversity are truly awe-inspiring. Shivania's story is a shining example of the transformative power of love, resilience, and the refusal to be defined by one's circumstances. She is a true inspiration, a living embodiment of the human spirit's capacity to defy the odds and forge an extraordinary life, even amid unimaginable hardship. Number 7. Liam's sorrowful journey with alkaptonuria. Liam was born with a terrible illness called alkaptonuria. This condition made his pee turn black when it touched the air. As Liam grew up, his illness caused him even more problems. His joints started to hurt all the time, making it hard for him to move around. He loved playing basketball, but the pain made it impossible for him to run and jump like the other kids. Liam had to just sit and watch his friends play, feeling left out and lonely. The darkness of his urine and the aching in his body were constant reminders of Liam's struggles. While other children learned about colors with crayons and rainbows, Liam had to deal with the ugly black of his own pee. Despite the pain, Liam refused to give up. He found a new way to stay involved in the game he loved, coaching younger kids. Liam shared his knowledge and passion, helping others even as his own body betrayed him. Managing the joint pain became a daily battle for Liam. He had to do physical therapy and change his diet just to get through each day. But Liam's biggest triumph was his efforts to raise awareness about alkaptonuria. He wanted to make sure other people with this rare illness could get help and support, so they wouldn't have to suffer alone like he did. Liam's life was filled with so much hardship and sorrow. But through it all, he showed incredible strength and compassion. Though his journey was filled with tears, Liam's legacy will continue to inspire those facing their own difficult battles. Number 6. Carlos and Alström syndrome. Growing up in the bustling streets of Mexico City, Carlos had to grapple with the immense challenges of Alström syndrome, a rare, genetically inherited condition that would drastically alter the course of his life. From a young age, Carlos faced the gradual dimming of his vision. By his teen years, he had become heavily reliant on hearing aids, as his sense of hearing also began to deteriorate. But the sensory losses didn't stop there. Shortness of breath and obesity, other hallmarks of this cruel syndrome, also started to shape his daily existence. It must have been so overwhelming and heartbreaking for this young man, watching his world slowly slip away. The once vibrant sights and sounds of Mexico City became a daunting obstacle course, testing his resilience at every turn. Yet, Carlos's spirit remained indomitable. Music, his true passion, became a lifeline. Though he could no longer hear the melodies as he once did, Carlos began to feel the rhythms, his nimble fingers dancing across the drums with virtuosic skill. Soon, he was a sought-after percussionist, turning his sensory loss into rhythmic gains. Navigating through life required constant adjustments, but Carlos embraced technology, using various aids to help him with his daily tasks. Yet, it was the power of community that truly gave him purpose. He became an advocate, shedding light on Alström syndrome, ensuring early diagnosis, and supporting affected families in coping with this debilitating condition. Carlos's story is evidence of the human spirit's ability to overcome even the most crushing of challenges. In the face of such profound adversity, he found strength, creativity, and a deep sense of purpose. Though his journey was filled with immense struggles, Carlos's resilience and compassion will continue to inspire all who hear his tale. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. As we peer into these stock images, what comes to our mind? First, these irritating images of the tooth fairy floating and the whimsical holes of the forest depict what most people suffer in life. And you know what? Despite the jarring visuals disconnect, the stories themselves are truly captivating. Scene after scene of these poor souls grapple with the most bizarre, inexplicable medical conditions imaginable. It's enough to make you count your blessings that your own health issues are, well, relatively normal, supposedly. It's a humbling reality. So the next time you're feeling down about your own lot in life, just remember, at least you don't have teeth growing out from your skin or worm-like structures scattered all over your body. Tell us in the comments section what you think about these very terrible diseases. Number 5. Elena and Mal de Débarquement Syndrome. The tranquil waters of the Mediterranean Sea, once a source of serenity, became Elena's undoing. A simple cruise vacation left her with a debilitating neurological condition, Mal de Débarquement Syndrome, or MDDS. Returning to her home in Barcelona, Elena's world was perpetually in motion. The ground felt unstable beneath her feet, and the once familiar cobbled streets she had once adored now became an arduous ordeal. It must have been so disorienting and unsettling for her, as if she was constantly lost at sea, unable to find her footing. Medical professionals were initially baffled by her symptoms, dismissing them as psychological. But Elena knew this disorienting feeling was all too real, not just in her head. It was a devastating blow to have her suffering brushed aside, but she refused to give up. Finally, a diagnosis of MDDS came, but the treatments were experimental at best. Yet every challenge was met with Elena's unwavering determination. Yoga and meditation became her anchors, providing a semblance of balance in her unsteady world. Despite the constant sensation of swaying, Elena turned her ordeal into an opportunity for outreach. She formed support groups for fellow MDDS sufferers, transforming shared challenges into collective resilience. What a remarkable act of compassion and community building amidst her own struggles. Though the feeling of perpetual motion never truly left her, Elena's journey became one of grounding herself amidst the unsteadiness. Finding stability in her mind, even when the world around her seemed to constantly tilt, revealed her inner strength, will, and power to really make the best out of her life. Number 4. Ellie with the awesome disease. When little Ellie was just 3 years old, her mother began to notice something wrong. The once vibrant, energetic child was struggling with her balance, frequently tumbling and falling down. After countless tests and examinations, the devastating diagnosis came. Ellie had a rare, degenerative brain disease. There are fewer than 100 known cases of this condition worldwide, and most children end up confined to wheelchairs by their teenage years. Ellie's family was devastated, but they refused to give up hope. They scoured the globe, searching for any potential treatments or cures that could save their precious daughter. For now, Ellie's family has found a temporary solution, a carefully curated regimen of vitamins that can provide a brief boost of energy. But this is not a long-term fix, and time is running out. Ellie's condition is slowly, painfully, robbing her of her mobility, her speech, and her very life. Determined to raise awareness and help find a cure, Ellie and her family launched an online campaign to rename this rare disease. With her boundless optimism and infectious spirit, Ellie chose to call it the awesome disease, hoping to make other children with rare conditions feel empowered and proud. Despite the immense challenges she faces every single day, Ellie has been an inspiration to all who know her. Ellie's family is immensely proud of her, not just for her own courageous fight, but for her selfless efforts to help others like her. In the face of unimaginable adversity, this extraordinary 8-year-old warrior continues to shine, a beacon of hope in a world that so desperately needs it. Number 3. Baby Jackson and Sturge-Weber syndrome. Jackson grew up in the sprawling suburbs of Atlanta, where his life was marked by the relentless challenges of Sturge-Weber syndrome, a cruel congenital condition that went far beyond the visible port wine stain on his face. As a young child, Jackson's greatest struggle was not the facial disfigurement, but the unpredictable and intense seizures that constantly disrupted his formative years. School, a place meant for learning and exploration, became a setting of medical emergencies as his seizures grew more severe. The whispers in the hallways and the hushed tones of concern only added to Jackson's burden, a constant reminder of how his condition had set him apart from his peers. It must have been a lonely and isolating experience for a child, facing such significant medical challenges. Yet, in the face of this adversity, Jackson found solace in the only place he could, the piano. Through sheer willpower, he became a maestro, using music as an escape from his physiological battles. The rhythm and melodies offered him a respite, a world where his condition did not define him. As Jackson grew older, advancements in medical treatments brought some relief, but the challenges of Sturge-Weber syndrome continued to plague him. Each obstacle he faced must have been a painful and exhausting ordeal, testing the limits of his physical and emotional strength. But one can only imagine the immense hardship and suffering he must have endured along the way, a burden no child should have to bear. Jackson's journey is a poignant reminder of the incredible strength of the human spirit and the unfair challenges that some must face in life. Number 2. Luna and erythromyalgia. Luna grew up in the quaint town of Verona, Italy, where she faced the relentless challenges of a rare and debilitating condition, erythromyalgia, also known as the man-on-fire syndrome. Imagine the intense and burning pain that must have plagued her, especially in her feet, the very parts of her body that were meant to carry her through life's journeys. The scorching summer days, once a time of joy and indulgence in the local gelato, must have become her worst nightmare, as the heat only intensified her suffering. Yet, despite the overwhelming physical discomfort, Luna's spirit remained unyielding. She refused to let this condition dictate her life. Instead, she crafted her narrative, embracing the cooler nights and finding solace in the gentle embrace of the moonlight. It was during these nocturnal explorations that Luna's creativity truly blossomed. She began to write, painting vivid pictures of her life with this rare condition, sharing her raw and real experiences with the world. In doing so, she not only shed light on a little-known disorder, but also found a way to channel her resilience and strength. Though the burning sensations must have frequently threatened to overshadow her essence, Luna's spirit, much like the moon she so cherished, shone brilliantly through the darkest times. Number 1. Amare Stover. Amare Stover, a 13-year-old from Decatur, Alabama, was born with a rare and challenging condition known as neurofibromatosis type 1. This complex disorder has manifested in the most remarkable way, causing Amare to develop large, prominent tumors on his face. From a young age, these tumors have severely impacted both his vision and his breathing, leaving him with no vision in his left eye and only limited vision in his right. Despite the immense physical and emotional obstacles he's had to navigate, Amare's spirit remains undaunted. Sadly, Amare's unique appearance has made him the target of cruelty and bullying from some of the local children. One particularly heartbreaking incident occurred when his mother, Candace, took him to the park, only for him to be cruelly referred to as a monster by a group of insensitive kids. Understandably, Amare never returned to that park again. But Amare is not alone in his journey. He is incredibly close with his cousins, and the three of them cherish the opportunity to get outside and play together whenever they can. The simple joys of running, throwing a football, and enjoying each other's company are a much-needed respite from the challenges Amare faces daily. It was on one of these park visits that the Born Different crew had the privilege of capturing Amare and his cousins as they reveled in the freedom of movement and the bond of family. Their laughter and camaraderie, despite the difficulties Amare endures, show the human spirit and the power of love and acceptance. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.